If you're a small business owner, you'll know just what it's like to be the chief everything officer. HR, payroll, employee benefits. Well, Gusto can do all of that for you. Gusto is online payroll and benefits software built for small businesses. It's all in one, remote friendly, and incredibly easy to use. It's quick and simple to switch to Gusto. Just transfer your existing data to get up and running fast. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/lockedonsoccer and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's gusto.com/lockedonsoccer.
The world's biggest soccer tournament has arrived, and you can trade the entire tournament on Kalshi. On Kalshi, you can trade every match from the opening stage all the way to the final. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code CUP26 to get $10 when you trade 10. KALSHI Kalshi. Trade the beautiful game. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory.
Hey, it's Bill from the Bill Simmons podcast. FIFA World Cup 26 fans, listen up. As the official beer sponsor of the FIFA World Cup 26, Michelob Ultra is giving away $1 million worth of FIFA World Cup 26 tickets and prizes. Enter now at MichelobUltra.com/superior access/FIFA World Cup 26. Michelob Ultra FIFA World Cup 26 superior access. No purchase necessary. Open U.S. residents 21 plus. Begins on December 1st, 2025. Ends on July 31st, 2026. Multiple entry periods. Visit www.MichelobUltra.com/superior access/FIFA World Cup 26 for free entry deadlines, prizes, and details.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Wynn. Welcome to How Are the podcast. And as this World Cup summer is chugging along, we've had the new fixtures to discuss, of course, as well as the usual transfer speculation, because as I speak, there's one in particular that is playing out in public that has the potential to be this summer's transfer saga for Sunderland. But enough of that for a while, because the summer's also given us a chance to do a few things that we don't get the chance to do very often during the season. And following on from speaking to Tommy Sorensen recently, we've got another treat for you today. We get a chance to speak to someone who's played a major part in getting Sunderland to where we are today. He scored 9 goals in 147 appearances after joining from Manchester City, and he's now in pre-season preparation ahead of his second season at Birmingham City, because we're very pleased to welcome Patrick Roberts. Hello, Patrick.
Hello. Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Well, I think I'm better than you, because as you said before we started recording, another tough day in pre-season.
Yeah, it's just it's the way of life, unfortunately. But yeah, just crack on again. New season, fresh start in many sense. Every year you get to do it all again. So yeah, it's just the hard bit at the start, and then you get right into the football.
Yes, such enthusiasm for running every day, Patrick. I mean, is it as tough as it used to be?
I don't. I mean, I think this is maybe my 13th season or something like that, and I think everyone, yeah, the older you get, the harder it gets. But it can be as tough. I mean, you know, our bodies kind of we've performed at that for so long, you kind of get used to it. But it's still, when you go back after a break and sitting around all day, it can be quite tough on the legs, and it gets some taking used to again. So it's okay. I feel okay. I feel good. So I'm ready to kick on again.
Yeah, I have to admit, you do look absolutely so we do appreciate you joining us. But I was going to say, I mean, you just mentioned it there. Do you get a bit of time to switch off? I mean, do you get, a couple of weeks or something now, or a bit longer?
Yeah, well, the season finished in the 2nd of May. Obviously, the Premier League doesn't finish to the back end, but so I've had off since then, which has been nice. Had a long time off. Went back in on Monday, and then so about 7-8 weeks off, which is nice. Spent it with the missus and son, and went on a few holidays. So yeah, it was good. Just time to relax and enjoy the sun, really.
Yeah. Well, I'll quote you next time someone talking about a winter break. I'll see you getting off in the summer. So, but yeah, I mean, just might be a bit of a loaded question, because obviously you're right in the middle of it. But do you actually enjoy it? Do you enjoy the hard work in pre-season?
Sometimes, yeah. I think after, depends how long I got off. Last year didn't really have that long off. We had only 4 weeks off to their final, and we're back in. When you have so long off, you kind of want to be back in doing a normal routine again and playing football again. So Yeah, I do enjoy it, some aspects of it, and then the other bits you have to do for your body and to get used to obviously the season ahead. So, but yeah, you just kind of look forward to it, and when you're back into it, you get used to it again, and you start enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll circle back to what's ahead of Birmingham, hopefully, before we finish up, because obviously you want to get onto your Sunderland days, but we need to talk about your journey that led up to signing for Sunderland in the first place. And I was just looking at those early days, Patrick, and reading a huge long list of clubs that wanted you when you were young, but you were born in Kingston. Those early moves, AFC Wimbledon and Fulham, I mean, was that all about geography at the time?
Yeah, I mean, I was born in Kingston, so where Fulham train was New Malden.
Mm.
So I had a few down there. There's quite a few clubs, so I had a few trials when I was younger. I was at some big clubs in London, and because I was only little, I didn't really kind of get through that, and then I ended up at AFC Wimbledon, who was Sunday League at the time.
Mm.
They weren't in the Football League, so obviously they're in the conference. So I was playing Sunday League with them, and then I thought, it's getting a bit too much. I was about 13, 14, and I left that, went to play with, just trained with someone in the summer, and then I had a friend who was at Fulham, and his dad kept pestering Fulham about me, to give me a trial. And a few weeks after, in the summer, they called me up and asked me to come down for a few weeks. So I was only 13, 14. It's quite late nowadays. I think, you know, boys are in there about 6, 7, 8. But I went at 13, had a trial, started at like left back, I think, and stuff like that. And then I moved further up the pitch. I was quite good. I don't think I was quite that good for academy level because I've been at Sunday League for so long. It's hard when the boys have been there so many years, just trying to catch up to that. But I was good, but I didn't have the confidence. I don't think I did as I have now that I did then. But I grew into it, did well my first 3 weeks, and then they offered me a contract. So I mean, that's quite lucky, but at the same time, I kind of worked quite hard to get there, and I put a lot of hours in, and I was quite grateful they gave me opportunity to play, and there was some good coaches down there that really really helped me, and it flew from there really, and then the years went by, and it kind of progressed, and you're in the first team before you know it.
Yeah, well, I hope they slipped them a few quid for pestering Fulham all the time. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean that's even more incredible than that what you've just said there. Because looking at how you progressed at Fulham, they're struggling at the wrong end of the table, and it wasn't long after your 17th birthday, I think, where you
Mm,
handed your debut in the Premier League. Now, if you're talking about 13, 14, getting pestered to get into
mm.
Fulham playing Sunday League, I mean, you're only talking, what, 3 years later or something that you're playing Premier League football. I mean,
Yeah.
how did you cope with that? Because I know when I was 16, 17, bloody hell, I couldn't cope with anything, never mind Premier League football.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was Fulham have a good academy, and I think it was at a time where we were bringing a lot of players in as a scholar, uh, and there was kind of a gap in the age groups. So I started playing up because there wasn't many players above me in the age group above.
Mm.
They all kind of got released, and so it gave me a gap, and I played up a lot of the time. I played the 16s when I was only maybe 15 or 14, 15. Um, and I changed school, so we went to school. There was a lot of lads that went to the same school, which was over the road from the training ground. So we used to train every day when I was in year 10, 11. So we went there, did that for 2 years, and then you become a scholar. So I did that, and then I had some good coaches around me who pushed me a lot. And then I started playing the 18s, and then went to the FA Youth Cup. I think I was 16 in the FA Youth Cup, and then I was just turning 17, and it was that year we got to the final. We played Chelsea, and then we brought in a new manager, um, Felix Magath. If you
Yeah, yeah.
remember him, he came in and must have seen some games or something, and put me straight into the first team dressing room, and I started training with the first team from there. So there was some big names in there, um, and it kind of just kicked on from there really. And I was training there and played the FA Youth Cup final, went away with England at the under 17 Euros. We won that. So yeah, it was good, and obviously made my debut that season the same year. So yeah, it was interesting. It was tough, but I was only young. I was only small. I was only slight. So it was hard to get used to. Looking back, hopefully you can you'd instill maybe in my son how to be when you're at that age. You need to kind of be willing to compete at that level. But I was still good technically, and I could get away with a few things because I was quite slight and quite technical. But yeah, it was quite a quick rise, and then the next season we obviously got relegated that season, and I was in the champ, and I spent obviously a lot of that year around the first team, which was kind of for me was great experience. Didn't play as much as I thought I hoped I would. Um, Different manager changes, it's like it was a turnaround kind of for the club. It just got relegated for the first time in years, and it's not so easy coming back up straight away. And there was a big overhaul in the club, and it gave players opportunity to play, but at the same time, it was kind of trying to get back is a hard thing, and then playing other players, and it kind of fizzled out that way towards the back end of that next year in the championship, and yeah, that's when I went to City.
Yeah, I saw you made around 20 appearances that season. Your reputation's kind of growing, and obviously leads to that move to Manchester City. It was Manuel Pellegrini who was the man in charge
Mhm.
at Man City at the time. But you talk again. There's this assumption you come through the academy. You've just described what you've gone through. Massive rise to the first team, Premier League football. 12 million move to Manchester City. This is only a space of a few years. I mean, my biggest worry at that age is whether I was going to get served or not
Yeah.
when I was out with the lads. And you're kind of moving to Manchester City. I mean, how do you just take that in your stride because you're young? Do you not actually think, wow, look, this is what's happened in the last few years?
I think so. I think when you're around the academy and you're training, obviously with first team lads, you kind of get into that environment, and it kind of changes your mentality, and you kind of want to be in there, and you kind of want to do these things. And I had an older brother as well, who didn't quite
Mm,
do what I did, but playing with him and training with him, and he was 3 years older than me, and all his mates. I was quite good, and I was a lot better than even all of his mates. So even then, I knew playing against boys that are 3 years older than me, I could compete with that kind of physicality. So I just got used to it, and you want to be the best you can be, and I was young and I was fearless, and I just wanted to kind of make something of my career, and yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good, and my family were there to support me as well, so it was nice, and it was tough, but yeah, you move to a big club like Man City. It's it changed your life in a lot of ways. I went there kind of not expecting obviously to play, but I know going to a big club like that, you get the better maybe better loan moves, or you're training around you know high world class players, and it can only improve you. So I thought for me it was a no brainer, and kind of Fulham was in a sticky kind of spot, and I kind of thought maybe my progression might derail more than it would progress because of the way it was. Hindsight's wonderful. You could stay there. It could be completely different. You could have a completely different career.
mm,
But I just thought for my progression to go there to get, you know, like I said, get a better loan move somewhere, which obviously I went to Celtic, which, maybe I wouldn't have got if I was at Fulham. So that's kind of the decision I took there. And I wasn't expecting to kind of go into first team. If I did, great. You know, that's it's the biggest thing you want to do. But if you don't, then obviously you can go to places and then prove and hopefully get into City's first team at some point. So that was the mindset I had when I went there. I stayed for 6 months. I did well for 6 months, and I stayed around the first team for 6 months at City. Trained with them every day, and all these things when I at 17, 18. They're things that you can take from and then you can build. And it takes like 29 now. You can look back at them experiences, and that's how I kind of had the mentality to kind of go out to these places and play and learn, and you know still be playing at a high level, trying to play at a high level now. It all came from when I was 17 making that move.
yeah. No, absolutely. It was huge. And those loan moves, like you said, Celtic, almost 2 years at Celtic, went to La Liga, played there, Norwich, Middlesbrough, Derby, moved to France at the end. I mean, was there a point in there where, you talked about your expectations for the move? Was there a point in there where you thought, well, this is the pathway, but then was there a point where you thought, actually, this is veering off the pathway and I'm going out and loan all of the time? And
Yeah.
you didn't really get that chance when you came back.
I think obviously Celtic was amazing and Spain was amazing as well. I think after Spain, I had a big decision what I did.
Mm.
Um, and then I went to Norwich, and then probably wasn't the right time. And that kind of from the Norwich move, it kind of started to go a different direction. I didn't really play there, and then when you don't play, it's hard to find someone. I went to Middlesbrough. I actually really liked Middlesbrough because the manager was Jonathan Woodgate. He wanted me in. He wanted me to express myself. He was really good. I enjoyed him as a coach, and I went there and enjoyed that. And then COVID hit, and then things all up in the air. And then I went back there. Didn't really play under Neil Warnock. And then you just end up going to all these places, and it's like you can kind of see I don't really want to do that anymore. And it was actually when I went to France, I thought I can't do this anymore. And then Sunderland came about, and it was. You can have. I feel like the persistence I had and the patience I had throughout my low moves, kind of, I deserved kind of a club like Sunderland at the time. And I think I was lucky and no, lucky, so not for you guys for the position you was in, but lucky for me the position you guys were in. I had the opportunity to go there, which you need to jump on and take. And I obviously knew the manager Lee at the time, so that put two and two together. So it was you'll probably get onto that, but yeah, that's kind of where it was when I was in France. I kind of didn't want to do kind of the lone malarkey anymore, and I want to be settled down somewhere and find somewhere I can play for a good few years and enjoy my football. And yeah, that's where obviously Sunderland came in.
Yeah, that's really interesting to hear because, of course, it gets to January 2022. Sunderland at the time were in the top two in League One. It's and as you said, Lee Johnson's in charge. Like I said, it's interesting hearing you say that because you've played in the top flight or the second tier of your whole career up to that point, and you're saying that it's it was a great opportunity to play for Sunderland. I remember thinking at the time that we were all kind of a little bit shocked that you made the move down to league, even though we were doing well, potentially getting back in the Championship. And I think it was a 6-month deal to start with, but still, we thought, well, the offers that must have been on the table for you at the time because for you to say, right, well, you could move where you want. But we thought that we've got a bit of a coup here, getting this player down in League One. I mean, so were you thinking the size of the club and the potential that you could kick on there?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I knew Lee through, family connections and stuff. I knew Lee that way, and I always kept an eye on Sunderland. Obviously, when he went in, and yeah, you've watched all the documentaries and stuff, and you know Sunderland because I've been around long enough to know Sunderland played in the Premier League and stuff, and and the fight to get back to obviously the Championship and obviously to Premier League, and yeah, it took a while to do it. Like I said, France didn't go at all the way I wanted, and I was probably sat there for a good 4 months, and I didn't want to be there. And then Christmas came, and they had the break at Christmas. So when they had the break at Christmas, I came home, spent some time at home, and I actually came up to Sunderland to watch the Sheffield Wednesday 5-0 win at home. So I watched that on 5-0, and then I got the train back home, and then I was at home for a while, and then I kind of just said I don't want to I don't want to go back to France really. So that's when I was obviously talking to Sunderland and sorting stuff like that, and obviously I had to sort with City as well because I was still, obviously at City at the time. So that's when I started talking about that, and it took about a couple of weeks. Got everything sorted, and I was sat in the building at the AOL for 4 days, trying to get everything sorted through. I couldn't train, so that's why I was probably in the door long before I made my debut. But I couldn't do anything because I couldn't sign off on it yet because it was, coming from City to Sunderland, there was a lot involved in it. So yeah, and then I was around the place for about 4 days. Everyone must have thought, "What's this guy doing? He can't even train, but he's he's sat in the canteen every day." And that's when you had like obviously Clarkey, joined and stuff. And yeah, finally got everything sorted, and then we had our first game at Bolton. It was a long time ago, which
We'll get
speak about, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll get onto that in a second, because I was just going to ask you, because you mentioned it there. You said, "Oh, you'd seen the documentaries,"
Yeah.
and of course, Sunderland fans watched it because we lived it as well. But is that actually a thing? I mean, because if I was maybe a footballer or in that industry, and I looking at that documentary, I'd think, bloody hell, I'm not sure I want a bit of that. It looks a bit nuts.
Yeah. No, I think it comes on Netflix. A lot of documentaries. I just watched the Rafa Nadal one just not long ago, and I like all them kind of things. And it was one of the first ones I think they've kind of brought out, especially Netflix. And you watch it, and you can see from the outset what to even have a documentary. The size of the club. What they're trying to do. Obviously, the documentary didn't play out as many would hope, especially you guys. But yeah, you do watch these kind of things. You don't really take much into it because when you're around football, you kind of know the ins and outs of it. It's not as maybe flowers and rainbows as as people maybe think, and there is a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, that didn't bother me. I could see the size. Went up to the training ground, like I said, I seen the stadium. I even walked around to the stadium. Just walked around. There was no one there. It was in January sometime, and you could see them. What it was like, and yeah, I just kind of just wanted to get started again and get back to playing football. Really, that was the main thing. And like I said, I think I said when I left, it kind of worked for both of us because they needed obviously players that were willing to get them out of League One, and they gave me that opportunity. And for me, it was trying to seize the opportunity to kind of do it for myself and get back to enjoy it like I did maybe the 3 years before that. And it was just a match that was sometimes fate kind of puts you together, but you wait for these things and they come around.
I'm just surprised, walking around the stadium light by yourself in January. You bet you think, bloody hell, it's cold up here. I don't fancy this
It was
wind.
freezing. There was no one there.
Yeah, it can get a bit nippy in January. But just quickly on the deal, because I mentioned the 6-month deal to start with. I mean, was that just for both sides to kind of weigh things up, to say, let's give it 6 months, see how it goes?
Yeah, because like I said, I think there wasn't many options. Like for myself personally, I kind of knew where I wanted to go, so I kind of pushed to do what I wanted to do. But at the same time, obviously, you can see Sunderland in the back. Obviously, if it doesn't work out, they don't want that kind of burden on it. And obviously, I hadn't played in 6 months, so they didn't want to give me a long-term deal, which I understood. I kind of went with the mindset doing 6 months and wanted to stay, and I hoped we got promoted. You obviously never know, but you go in there, you got a good squad, you got a good team, got an opportunity to get promoted. You do have a feeling and I went in to obviously get promoted, to obviously have the opportunity to then sign. Obviously, when you sign for 6 months, and that was fine by me. And then, we had the season that we had, so everything worked out that season. And then, that was a good 6 months, I'd say.
Yeah, well, we'll see everything worked out, but we're going to get into that debut in a second. But before we do, we'll take a quick break, so we'll be back after these.
The world's biggest soccer tournament has arrived, and you can trade the entire tournament on Kalshi. On Kalshi, you can trade every match from the opening stage all the way to the final. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code CUP26 to get $10 when you trade 10. KALSHI, Kalshi. Trade the beautiful game. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory.
This episode is brought to you by Google Chrome. You think you know a browser, but Gemini and Chrome? That's new. It can help you with practically anything on the web, like restoring a vintage motorcycle from a 50-page restoration blog, or finally break down that long article you've had open for weeks. Gemini and Chrome is here for it. Ready to make anything online make sense? There's no place like Chrome. Check responses, setup required, compatibility and availability varies, 18+.
Are all batteries the same? That's like asking if all soccer players are the same. Take Messi, the most decorated player ever. Is there any other player who has achieved that? No, just him. Now take Duracell. Is there any other battery with power boost ingredients inside? No, just Duracell. Remember, goats only trust goats because they're built different. And Messi only trusts Duracell.
And welcome back to How We're the podcast. And we're with Patrick Roberts, and we're just about to get into that ridiculous debut because there's never a dull day at Sunderland. And you've just signed for the club. Jack Clark's on the bench sitting next to you. Two big signings ready to go into the second half of this season. We're in the top two. And then we'll go away to Bolton Wanderers, who were the whipping boys of League One at the time. And we go and get beat 6-0. And you and Jack Clark come on from the bench to make your debuts. Then soon after the game, Lee Johnson's sacked. I bet you're thinking, what the hell have I got myself in coming here?
Yeah, it was a whirlwind. I think I had 1 week's training. And obviously, like I said to you, I've been in the building for 4 days. I've been speaking for about 2 weeks. I think I had 1 week's training. Obviously couldn't play because I hadn't had any, sort of fitness. Went up to Bolton. Played the game. I remember Danny Bath was playing that game, and we was obviously in the hotel together at the time. And we played that game. It was dark. It was a dull day, and then we get back, and I think we went out for some food. Me, Danny, and Pritch. We went out for some food. It's just in Durham, and we got the news that the manager had gone, which was crazy. So you are thinking, wow, what is going on? But then I say that it's just the way part and parcel of football. That is just the way it is. You can't control it. You can only control, what you do on the pitch and how you work in every day. And the other things, obviously, they're higher ups and that deal with. So you just crack on again. But it was a strange short weekend, to say the least. But it seems a long time ago, and it seems like doesn't really matter now. But
welcome to Sunderland. But that's it. Well, but we didn't win in the next 5. Then Alex Neil is appointed in that time. And it's strange looking back. He seemed from the outside now, thinking about it, he seemed the complete opposite type of character to Lee Johnson just from the outside. He got us on a great run, of course, to get us into the playoffs at the end of the season. But it did look like, that it started slowly, but it looked like at one point his ideas got across and the players got behind him.
Yeah, I think he had a good pedigree anyway in the Championship, and he obviously dropped down to work for Sunderland, and you kind of know from the outset what kind of manager he is. He's a no nonsense kind of manager. He'll set his teams up tactically to however the other team kind of plays. So I kind of knew that. He came in, he was the way he was, but I thought he was he was brilliant. He was clear, he was honest, and I mean, he got the job done, obviously, in a way. So, it was a different kind of manager, but I never really kind of experienced a lot with Lee anyway. So it felt like just the first one I came in. So it was good though. Everyone worked, everyone had fun. And there was obviously the objective to obviously go and get promoted, which we obviously ended up in the playoffs. But, I thought everyone worked tirelessly hard to kind of achieve that aim.
You say it wasn't long. I think it was about 20 minutes you had Lee Johnson on the pitch. But it gets to the playoff semi-final against Sheffield Wednesday. We won the first leg, 1-0. Ross Stewart scored that goal. And then we have to go to Hillsborough. And it felt like everyone outside of Sunderland thought we were underdogs for this game. And then when we went behind with around 50 minutes left, it was incredible now because I remember the game and both teams, because they'd been slugging it out, looked absolutely knackered. And then deep in injury time, you and Jack Clark found the energy to deep in injury time to sprint the length of the pitch on either side. Jack Clark ends up putting the ball through to the back post. That's where you were, and you send us through at the final. But it was an incredible performance. I remember Bailey Wright being in the wars that night, I think. And I mean, to go away because that was a good Sheffield Wednesday side that night, and it could have gone either way, couldn't it?
Definitely. I mean, I thought it was a tough place to go anyway, but playoff semi, they score, you always knew that it'd be a tough atmosphere. I think it's only one of the only times Jack kind of went down and kind of crossed it. Normally he'd come inside. um, but yeah, it was an amazing night. Even spoke to the manager after, and I think he said it. I don't know where he said it, but he had the feeling just to keep the same players, because normally I was expecting to be off by 60, 70 minutes, especially when the ball went through and they scored and it went between me and Gucci, and yeah, I was expecting to be off, but he must have had a gut feeling just to leave me on. Which, yeah, I mean, I was running on empty. I think a lot of lads were running on empty, and I think it was just trying to get into the box as quick as I could. It looked like it was probably in slow mo, but managed to get there. Yeah, and it was a good ball by Jack, and yeah, I mean, obviously the rest is history. But it was a tough night, and one of fondly obviously got fond memories of. And I think there's a lot said. If you get to the final, obviously Wycombe were in the final. I think we had a great chance to get through. Sheffield Wednesday, I think, was the tough one. I think if we got through that, I think everyone knew they had the belief to go to Wembley and win. Yeah, no better way to do it than a last-minute winner, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say you were running on empty, but you still sprinted off when you scored to the fans.
I didn't celebrate. I didn't have anything left.
But going into the final against Wycombe, look, I remember that day, and we had 2/3 of Wembley full of Sunderland fans. And I remember, obviously after a long night the night before, but I remember rocking up at Wembley, just thinking that was our day. And I mean, that's how it felt in the stands, that we're just going to win this. Like, they just had that feeling around it. Well, was that the feeling in the dressing room? Because it looked like you came out from the off right on the front foot.
Yeah, I think so. I think the big pitch helped. I think we had a lot more quality than them, and obviously they beat a good MK Dons team at the time. I remember playing them during the season. I thought they're a good side, they're a good manager, they had some good players that are playing obviously now, Troy Barrett and Scott Twine and stuff. And they beat them. But I just thought, at Wembley on a one-off game, I thought we just had too much for them. And I think it showed. It was tough to start with. It's a big old pitch. It was a hot day as well. So it was, just like you said, I think it was just destined for us to win. But we had a lot of quality. We brought players off the bench. I don't think Jack even started. Jack came on and stuff, and when you have that bit of extra quality, especially in the final, that does make the difference. We had a good group of lads, great lads still, some I speak to now. So it was a good group. Everyone wanted to achieve the same goal, and everyone was aligned in that. And yeah, it was a great season in the end, considering maybe the ups and downs throughout. But yeah, I thought we deserved to win that day, and we had the beliefs after, I think, Hillsborough, that we could do it, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, that summer, everything seemed positive. And then 5 games back in the Championship, Alex Neil takes the Stoke City job. And, as fans, we make a big thing of it, of course, when something like this happens, and so does the media. But, I mean, as footballers, when something like this happens, is it just kind of a bit of a case of shrugging their shoulders and kind of cracking on with it?
Like I said, it's the same thing when Lee left as well. It's out of your control, really. Obviously, what we control is on the pitch and the player, and how hard we work in training and stuff, and how we present ourselves as Sunderland players. But any decisions off the pitch is kind of out of control. We kind of we deal with it and we get on, and if whoever's in charge, we play for obviously Sunderland at the end of the day. So yeah, that was obviously a situation that happened. I think we started quite well in the league.
Yeah,
I don't think I'll play. Yeah, we beat Stoke. Yeah, we had a few good away results. I think we changed the way we kind of played. It wasn't really kind of. I wasn't really playing a lot. I don't think. No, I didn't play a lot at the start of that season anyway. So it didn't really affect me. I thought, it is what it is. A manager leaves, you get a new manager in. You obviously give the same effort and determination whoever's in charge. Yeah, obviously he made a decision personally for himself, which is everyone has the right to do that. And then obviously us as lads, we play obviously for Sunderland, so we kick on and carry on with the season.
Yeah, I liked how you put it earlier on where you were saying it was up to the higher ups. I like that one. I think I'm going to use that one from now on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look at it, Tony Mowbray is appointed, and he obviously, kind of pins his kind of hat on, I suppose, attacking football because he beds Amad Diallo into the team. And along with you, he creates one of the best partnerships we've seen at Sunderland in a long, long time. I mean, it just looked like you two on a footballing level just completely clicked. When one had the ball, you knew where the other one was going to be. You made sure you were available. You knew where the other one was going to run. That whole year just looked like you two were just enjoying yourselves.
It was good fun. To start with, when he came in, he didn't quite know what to expect. I seen him at Rangers. I played for Celtic. I watched a few of him at Rangers. And it didn't quite work out there. So you're wondering what kind of players there, because you haven't seen him fully, develop. I think it was his first loan, really. So you're wondering what kind of player you've got. And obviously he's got to be some player if he's been bought for whatever it was, 30, 40 million. So he came in. I don't think he played at the start because obviously he was off the right as well. I was playing and I got injured and he came in. And you can see in training he had all the ability. He just didn't know how he would cope in a kind of full season. And I think he just grew on that confidence. And in the end, I had a good relationship with the manager. He loved, obviously, both of us. I think in the end, it was just kind of trying to get both of us in the team together. And it worked. So it certainly worked. I knew where he would be. I would be kind of doing the same things. I think we had the same kind of mindset playing football. And it just clicked. And he was he was a joy to play with. He was easy to play with. He made my life easier. And if he was on his mazy runs like he did, I kind of knew I'd have to get back in and help him out. And I was okay doing that because he was scoring about 14 goals or whatever he scored. And I was okay with him, running and putting one in the top corner. I didn't mind doing the other way and the dirty work for him. That's not to say he didn't do it anyway. He was very tenacious, very, high energy, high intensity. But I kind of I had that, what is it? I kind of just thought, if he's doing all that, then I would do that, and he would do the exact same for me. And I think that works when we was on the ball as well, running off each other, just making our lives easier. And then you had Jack on the other side, if as an outball, and he was, in his trade, he's he's up there and with his dribbling and then his attacking of the fullback. So I think it just worked. I enjoyed playing it. I think coming up from League One, obviously Birmingham just did it this season. Can't get roped into going up straight away, or you got to just take it easy and go into the Championship, have some optimism, some real expectations, but just go there and try and enjoy it and kind of claim in the Championship. And we finished sixth that season. Unlucky in the playoffs. I thought maybe if we had another centre back or two, maybe it would have been a different situation. But just to kind of enjoy it, and him coming in was breath of fresh air, and it was a joy to kind of play with him and watch sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean, Patrick, because when Lynn and Gooch dropped in at centre half at one point, we were absolutely fine.
Yeah, me at right back.
Yeah, exactly. But I was just going to talk about quickly that football we played that season, because just generally, I mean, you think about the goal at Reading that Jack Clark ended up scoring. I mean, did it help that we had a manager like Tony Mowbray in charge at that point, where he gave the likes of you and Amad Diallo and Jack Clark just a bit of freedom and just to kind of do your thing?
I thought, especially in that situation, like I said, coming up from League One, you don't want to expect too much, because then you don't want to get the hopes up and think, oh, we can go and achieve this, and you kind of don't want to, be down fighting in relegation. So I think him coming in, he's very much give the ball up the top end and let them do what they do. There was no real, there was tactics, but there's no real tactics when in the final third. It was create something, score goals, do what you're paid to do and stuff like that. And I think that was it was different the way obviously Alex Neil worked, and he came in, settled it down. I think the Sunderland fans enjoyed watching it. It was fun to go to the games. You enjoyed going to the games. Maybe sometimes if you didn't win, but then you'd blow teams off the park one game, and then it was up and down. But I think just everyone just enjoyed playing their football, and enjoyed the season. Didn't really have any high expectations, and then to finish sixth, and you think, oh god, we're in the playoffs now. Where can we go from here? And then obviously, the playoffs happened. Luton, they had the size and physicality, and they probably deserved winners in the end. But it was one of them things. We did have a good run, and it was a shame to end like that, but it did. And you go into the next season, and you have that hope and optimism because you did what you did last season. You can go in there and have a bit more expectation and maybe try and kick on. We didn't, but you can have that, and off the back of a good season, everyone enjoying their football. It was good. I really enjoyed that season. It's probably one of the best I've had in a while. Just playing freely, and it was good. Yeah.
Yeah, I can say from my point of view as a fan, it was one of the most entertaining I've ever seen because in almost 40 years supporting the club, that goal at Reading was one of the best I've ever seen Sunderland score, and we scored quite a handful of goals like that season. Absolutely brilliant football, but like you said, we'll win it the next season, and hopes are high. But then we're talking about decisions of the higher ups, and Tony Mowbray earlier on gets the sack. Mike Beale comes in, didn't last too long. Mike Dodds takes over. I mean, we were talking earlier about maybe shrugging your shoulders and getting on with it. But when it's chopping and changing that much, and it's one set of ideas to another very quickly, I mean, the players, it must start getting to the players and almost getting the atmosphere down a bit.
I mean, you want some stability. Fans want stability. Players want stability. You don't kind of know what's going on. I think full credit to Dodsey. He was there the whole time I was there. He took over the first, obviously after Lee left, he took over the first few games then, and you could see the difference from when he took then to when he took it the second time, and even the third. You could see the kind of difference, the journey he went on, and we was there with him as players. So I think there was a lot of respect there from the players, and he was always there to kind of step in and do the best he can for Sunderland. Which I don't think he maybe got the dues that he maybe got. But he was there tirelessly working. He was a lot behind the scenes, kind of doing the tactics and stuff, and especially with Tony. And he kind of stepped in when needed. And yeah, obviously when, like I said, the higher ups obviously make a decision. You get your head down and you obviously make of that decision what it is. I was injured at the time when that was all going on anyway. I was out. I wasn't really playing anyway, but you could see it. It's not great to be a part of, but at the end of the day, every club kind of has these kind of moments, and it's how you kind of bounce back from that. You finish the season. You just try and finish as positively as possible. Don't think we maybe did that, but we finished the season. We're still in the championship. Sometimes that happens. You go back to the drawing board and you go from there. So. Yeah, look, it was the way it was, but as players, you deal with that. It's part and parcel of the game, I think. I think any manager comes in, you give them obviously every little bit, any benefit of the doubt, and you go with their ideas, and you work hard as much as possible. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So yeah, then obviously you make a decision, and on comes last season. So yeah, and then you see how that turned out.
Yeah, well, that's it. Well, like you said, we did kind of reset in the summer, and Regis Labris arrived in the summer. I mean, I know what we were like. If we go back and listen to the pods we recorded when Regis Labris was appointed, we were always we were all thinking, "Who's this fella?" I mean, was it the same with the players thinking, who's this?
A little bit, yeah. It came out of the blue, and first thought in my head came back to when I was in France, and I didn't really get on with the manager then. So that's what creeped into my head, and I was thinking, oh wow, what's this going to be like? I know the manager in France didn't like me, and we didn't get on for some reason. I don't know. So I kind of had that kind of in the back of my mind. What's it going to be like? And first impression was always so important. So I wasn't sure, but then when he came in, it was the complete opposite. From the first day, he was fantastic. even to when I left, he was great, and he's always been like that. He's always honest. He's always there to have a chat. He always kind of challenges you, in questions and stuff, and he always try and gets the best out of you. Yeah, coming in, you don't know what to expect. It's a new league, it's championship. I've been in it a while, so you kind of know what to expect. But when managers come in and they try to implement ideas, you don't know how it's going to go. But he came in, he didn't have any ego. He stuck to what he knew. Yeah, and he was great.
Well, we clearly put his stamp on things because early on we hit the ground running. I think we won 9 out of the first 12 last season, and not last season, season before last, of course. Time's moving far too quickly for my liking. But,
really quick, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so it's clear that he came in and clearly, I mean, looking at the results, the players had respect from him from really early on.
He had that authority. He's obviously worked in France. It comes across, obviously, he comes across he looks very serious, doesn't he? And he has got a bit of a sense of humor. But then when he does look very, very serious man. And he was like that throughout. He had a clear, like I said, he was very tactical in his mind, in the way he wanted to play and the way he wanted to press and stuff. And he was clear on that, and he drilled that in us from day one. So no one kind of had any excuses. And we went away, we worked on it, we came back, and we started the way we did. And I think we was gutted to concede our first goal. We had a joke with Luke that he scored his first goal of the season. It cost us, we hadn't conceded, and then he sticks on the back of the net. And cheers, Luke. But yeah, we were like kind of, that was the mindset, and which is, he shows where you'd been 12 months previous to obviously then unfortunate to concede after 5 games in the season. It was, you sit maybe top of the league and everything looks good, but we didn't get ahead of ourselves. I know what the championship like. A lot of the lads knew what the championship like, and you kind of take game by game.
Well, look, let's get into those playoffs because, look, the first leg was pretty dramatic, one with a late goal, but the second leg, when it went extra time, I think you brought off early in that extra time, if I remember rightly, off the top of my head. So you would have watched that corner being awarded in the last minute, just ahead of penalties. I'm sure there was maybe some conversations going on the bench about penalties. But Enzo Lefebvre puts his corner straight on Dan Ballard's head, and he does the rest. I mean, we all know what that moment was like for all of us. But what was that like for you and the players?
I think it's one of the moments. It went so quick. You don't know how to react. Like, it was, you don't expect it to go in, but then when it goes in, you kind of don't know how to react. And I think obviously I came off. I spoke about it before. I hurt my calf in the first game. Played the second game with my calf. Didn't know what the extent of it then was. And I came off the bench, and you kind of got the adrenaline from the game. And my legs throbbing, and then he puts that in, and then you kind of just go into, pandemonium. And I think I was running down the touchline. There was a lot of lads running in every direction, and it's one of the most surreal things I've kind of seen on a football pitch. And I don't think you quite take it in once you're in the mode of the game, because you're so, you want to win this game, win this game, and you don't see it until maybe after, or a few months later when you see it. And it's like, it was one of the best kind of feelings in football to score a last minute winner. It topped mine at Hillsborough, which I didn't think would be possible, but it topped that. And yeah, it was, it's hard to put into words, really. You kind of just have to deliver it to experience it. And I think for a lot of that sounds that probably lives longer in the memory. For us as players, it then get a result. So yeah, but it was a surreal moment. You always remember.
Yeah. Well, look, you say that. We thought it couldn't get any better, and then it got to Wembley. And we talked about that injury. You start from the bench, and you replaced Chris Rigg around the hour mark. And around 15 minutes later, after coming on, and you could feel us getting stronger and stronger into the game around the time you came on, and especially in that second half, we were getting stronger. I imagine some words were said at halftime with us potentially going 2-0 down, but you slide a perfect pass into the path of Eliza Mayundu smashes in the equaliser. But did it feel when that equaliser went in, because of the momentum of the game, that you could feel
I think
us
so.
getting the top?
I think especially when I was on the bench and they scored the second one, and I went in to go to the toilet and I was watching from the side and they just scored,
Hmm.
and you're thinking, oh God, you don't quite know how to react, and then obviously it gets called to VAR and it gets chalked off, and you're like, okay, well, we've got away with one there. Let's like make the most of it. And it was an up and down game. I thought they were a good side. There's some good players, but you could see obviously in the semi final before, obviously to play, to keep going on right to the end was kind of how we played that whole season. So it was what we were going to do. We weren't going to give up. We'll go right to the end. Like you said, I had that injury, but I kind of Michael Proctor said to me, "Oh, can you just give 30 minutes? Can you give what you can?" I was like, "Yeah, I can." And then he put me on, I think about 60. Yeah, and I don't even know why I was in the middle of the park. Normally, I'm out on a tight flat out wide. For some reason, I was in the middle. It was the chaos of the game, and managed to find Eli, and managed to find Ellie, and then he puts it away.
Yeah. Well, let's get on to the winner, because the winner actually starts with you attacking down the right-hand side, and you get challenged, and then Sheffield United go on the break, and it looks pretty dangerous for a second. But then Kiefer Moore decides to pass the ball back to Tommy Watson,
Yeah.
and then he does what he does. But, I mean, for you, that 10 seconds or so must have been a bit of a roller coaster.
Well, I was thinking I was on a high really. I was kind of just trying to, I had the energy. I just come on we just scored the goal. I'm quite like that anyway. I've been like that the whole time I was at Sunderland, just to get the ball, drive. A lot of fans probably got very frustrated with me. But yeah, I was just kind of trying to get on the ball and, try and make something happen. We had the momentum.
Mm.
Yeah. Managed to get us up the pitch, lose the ball. Luckily they passed it up the pitch, that came back the pitch, and then when Tommy got the ball, I was thinking just slide me in, I think Wilson was behind me, slide someone in. And I've never seen kind of Tommy shoot a ball really like that. So it took me by surprise. I think it took the goalie by surprise, and he's bent one perfectly round the goal, round the post, inches away from the keeper. It was probably the only place you could put it, and it was so it was a fitting end, especially for Tommy. And again, another mental finish to a game. It summed up, I think, us as a team and the season itself.
Does it sink in, actually, that sometimes, that when you're in it, like you said, you don't realise, but you've actually taken part in probably one of the most iconic playoff campaigns, not just with Sunderland, but that'll be replayed again and again and again.
I think when you look at it as a fan, it's kind of different because you're a fan, you're watching from the outset. But when you're in it for the whole season, you see the ups and downs, you see what it kind of takes to, every game, the away game, the travel, the getting a result here, getting to a point in the playoffs and then doing the playoffs again. And it kind of all bubbles up and you're just kind of just trying to get there, trying to finish it and trying to get the job done. You kind of don't really enjoy it until maybe after and you realize what you've done. Even on the celebration, just on a high, just a constant high until you sit down, you watch back maybe, or you see the videos and you see what you kind of achieved. And not many people get to achieve kind of what we did. There was only a few of us obviously that did it in League One and then did it in the Championship, and not many people get to do that either. It is quite hard to do. So I think, you look back at maybe in a few years as well, you keep reminding yourself of that, and it's with you for life, and you achieve something special with a massive club. It's got back to the Premier League and then kicked on again last season, which I was buzzing to see, especially some of the lads. Obviously, I've spent a lot of time with in the dressing room. See kick on, play in the Premier League and do so well, and get Europe. So you kind of start with that, and you can see where we were at the start, and then where you are now, and it's great, and it's something I can obviously tell my kids about, and always be a fan of a club that you spend so much time and had so many happy memories at. So it was good, and you're forever grateful. In football, you've got to take it. You don't have a long career, but when you have these special moments, you really enjoy it, and you keep them fond in your memory.
Look, as a fan, that's a very special group of players who got us from League One back to the Premier League, because at times we thought we'd lost the club. And as I said, all of those players will always kind of be looked on as well, heroes in some ways for Sunderland. But we weren't really expecting the club to do what they did in the summer. We were all expecting, a big, to add a few as we normally do, but it's very rare a club just completely has the turnaround that we had. I mean, was there an element of surprise with those players who went up that the club tried to kick on so quickly?
I'm not so surprised. They had a lot of ambition. You're a big club. When you go into Premier League, you obviously get more rights and more revenue and whatever. So I'm not surprised. And they obviously looked at the data and seen, if you don't spend X amount, or you don't go get these kind of players, then you're not going to achieve what you want to achieve in the Premier League, and you're just going to go back down. I don't think they're the type to want to do that. And fair play, they stuck to it. They got the players that they wanted in, and you see where they finished. So it all works out, and there's obviously a plan behind that. Obviously, it might have not worked out, but that's always big if. But you've got to try and maximize and do what you believe is right, and stick to that. And they've obviously gone and done that, and they've reaped the rewards at the end of the season. So yeah, it's been a long 4 or 5 years, but you get there gradually, and look where you are now. You're on a trip in Europe next year, so it's another thing that Sunderland fans do kind of enjoy. So it's amazing.
Yeah, but at the same time, just quickly, did the club have a complete understanding on the position of where these players were now, in terms of likes of yourself, who was first team player, Dan Neil, or obviously players like that who were first team players, that the club were understanding of that and the position that you were now in the Premier League?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, they obviously, to improve as a club, you got to evolve, and there's you can't be too sucked into it. I've been around a long time. If it's time to move on, or they're going a different direction, or whatever it is, they're evolving as a club, then, and you're not part of that, then that's fine. You just got to be honest and explain, and and see where that is. There's no hard feelings to it. It is the way of football. And even before I left, there was no real kind of, we want you out the door, we want you to leave. It wasn't like that. It was, I suppose, speaking to the manager, this is kind of the way we want to go. This is what we want to do. As a player, I was respect and appreciate what you've done. I'm not trying to make you leave. And there's always a place for you. He said that there was always be a part of this squad. And I think for myself, you just look at personally, you look at your age, and you look at what maybe you can offer. And if you want to sit around, I didn't really want to do that. So I said, I'd like to, explore elsewhere. And they were happy for me to do that. They weren't, there was no real problems in that. And then, you have a conversation with the manager. And then, they wish you on your way, and they do that, respectfully, and there's no bad blood between either of us. So it is what it is. You take pleasure in the 4 years before that, and see what you have achieved. And obviously things move on in life, and especially football moves so quick. You just got every bit of time, and if it's having to move on, then that's what I had to do for myself personally. And obviously, if Sunderland wanted to go a different direction, and it worked out both for me and them. So, you just got to look back and enjoy kind of what you did do, and that's all I'd say with me. I have a huge admiration for Sunderland, and I'm grateful they gave me the opportunity to play and play for so long, and achieve many things together. So I was grateful for that, and I'm sure they're obviously very grateful for me for what I did. So, things always come to an end, and that was just the way it is. But I was, loved my time at Sunderland, and always would have. And so glad I went in the first place.
Well, we're up against the clock, so very, very quickly, because obviously you did go to Birmingham, and I was listening to Tom Brady on the overlap the other week, and it seems like a club not only on the up, but that's got some ideas that Tom Brady's brought in on the fitness side.
Mhm.
I mean, it just sounds like a club that are going places.
Yeah, I compared it a little bit to how Sunderland were, wanting to kind of evolve and, make that step up. They obviously did that in the League One, and they did amazing things in League One. And obviously last year in the Championship, it's always tough first year back. You can't always get everything straight away. So it's a process. You know how it is at Sunderland. It is the way it is, and you go from there, and we'll keep building, and we'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah. Well, one last thing I wanted to mention before we finish up very, very quickly. I've never seen a player nutmeg opponents as much as you have in my life at any level. So a couple of things on this. Firstly, is it something you practice? And secondly, is it something you keep a tally of? Like in the same way strikers count goals. Do you count how many times you call megs during a game?
No, I don't. I think there was one year when my brother sent me a screenshot, and I think I had 17. It was a season of
Was
100.
that just one game, was it?
I wish. In training, maybe. But no, you don't really keep count, and you can't really practice it. You can't tell. Maybe Luke would have done it. You can't tell someone to come over here and just, come on, practice nutmegging against you.
He would have
It
loved
was
that, I'm
it
sure.
was just kind of instinct, and I don't advise it most of the time, but if it's on, then it's kind of just last minute thought, and it always kind of pans out, or well, it did, and it was just maybe just an attribute kind of had, and just a dribbling mechanism, and is something I've been doing for years, so it wasn't new. But like I said, it can get you in trouble a few times. So
Well, I miss watching it during a game, Patrick. I have to admit, that was one thing I always looked out for a couple of your megs. But look, we are running over, so I just want to say thank you very much, Patrick. And what I hope, I hope the cup draw maybe brings us together or something like that,
maybe.
and you get to visit the Stadium of Light again.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I'm sure I'll be back at some point in the future. But it was no, thank you for having me. Pleasure speaking to you. Thank you.
Yeah, well, good stuff, and good luck with everything, Patrick. We all Sunderland fans will always be looking out for you, and as I said, players from that squad will always be very special to Sunderland. So we thank you very much for everything you did, and again, appreciate your time. So thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good day.
Good stuff.
Cheers.
And thanks again, everyone, for listening. Look, we'll have all the latest on the Roke Report website or our daily releases on How We're the Podcast. But from us, it's bye for now.
You want to get your backyard summer ready, but you don't want to break the bank? Wayfair gets it. Planning on dining al fresco or relaxing poolside? Wayfair has everything you need to prep your space. Shop now and save up to 70% off during Wayfair's 4th of July clearance. Score huge deals on outdoor furniture, area rugs, and more. We're talking thousands of products for every style and budget. Plus, surprise flash deals July 6th. Don't wait. Shop Wayfair's 4th of July clearance now through July 6th at wayfair.com.
Wayfair, every style, every home.